As you can see here, it happened here and here. So if I were to apply that based on this bottom here and this top here, that would mean that the lowest we could possibly go is on the 100. So that's just from that price action pattern that I'm using from previous structures to the left. However, where I said that I'm uncertain about is when I get the RSI, there's a correlation within this as well. So when I get the brush tool, right? So you have the top right here, which is 1. Then you have the second structure here, which is 2. And then you have this third structure here, which is the bottom, 3. We move over to the right. We have this first structure here, which is 1. Oops. The second structure here, which is 2. Sorry, it's pretty hard to write here. And then this is 3, of course. Now, the uncertainty lies within this structure because I'm not sure if I know this is 1, right? But I'm not sure if this top here is 2 and this being 3. Because if that's the case, then there is a possibility that we have bottomed, right? Now, if it's not that, and we were to say this second bump here is all of 1, then this would be 2, and we would go into the third box. So I would have to shift, if that were to be true, I would have to shift this measurement over to the second. If this was second box, I would have to shift this top here, right? And measure this bottom here to come down to, so the range between the wicks, if I measure body to body, it's 94. If I do wicks to wicks, it goes as low as 91. So all to say that the possibility, because I'm not certain whether this bump is a second or still the part of the first, I'm gonna see whether or not this wick comes into fruition. And I want to bring that into your attention just in case this layout is right and this is a second top, and this is a second bump, and we're going into the third. But like I said, this is most likely a wick, so it can be that we go into the 100 range and then wick all the way down and then continue up. So either way, like I said previously, this is nothing to be worried about. The shakeout can still possibly, based on this, because of this probability of it being part of first, can happen. But the direction is still to the upside. Now, the reason why I have this line, which is our expansion top that was measured, what was it? I think it was sometime over summer. We measured our measurements using the math. Our expansion top lies at 135,000. This is important, and you're going to see for a second. Let me go into the second layout. So the reason why I had that 135 is because it's important. Well, I even have it here actually. It's important for what I'm going to tell you in the following. This is pretty much responding to the whole Ben Cohen. Now, I'm not bringing this up to bash the guy. That's not why I'm bringing it up. But the guy has 1 million followers, and I know in our community we have people that actually pay attention to him. I do know he's been right, and my hat goes off to him in the sense that he's been on point when it comes to rotation of money. However, there is something that personally has me puzzled with his analysis, and this is why I'm bringing it up. So before I get into my analysis, I'm going to specifically highlight what he's pretty much been for the past months repeatedly saying. So first things first, Ben is usually on that 4-year cycle time frame. That's fine. That's pretty much irrelevant for what I'm going to show. Second thing is he uh he goes into talking about how the 50 SMA in Bitcoin, if we break that, which we all know here in this community is bearish for Bitcoin. However, he has not yet once mentioned the importance of Bitcoin dominance breaking the 50, which is why I'm at this point, I'm just like, at this point, are you really trying to become a Bitcoin maxi or are you really gonna paint the whole entire picture as is? Second thing is, or the third thing is his low confidence in altcoin season. And most of his analysis is if you look at his way of doing things, he's always looking left to the chart, which is how most analysis work, right? So, first things first, because he's um, big on the fact that Bitcoin dominance, he keeps saying that he's expecting Bitcoin dominance to go up. And his message is kind of, um, I don't want to say wrong, but it's misleading. That's the word. It's misleading because the way he's identifying that Bitcoin's going to go up and you're better off just being in Bitcoin because it's a safer environment to be in Bitcoin, blah, 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 is misleading because he hasn't once mentioned or identified the importance that we have within dominance. And it's because if he's going to highlight the importance of the 50 being broken in Bitcoin, that being bearish, he better freaking mention it in Bitcoin dominance. Sorry, this is the monthly. So let me go back into the weekly. And as you can see here, it's been not only broken recently, but it's been broken for months, right? And you guys already know that we have this massive bearish divergence. So all to say that his misleading of not mentioning the bearish chart with just the dominance in itself is what kind of gets me rattled because it's like you're not really painting the whole entire picture for your community. Second thing is, like I said, he's always looking left. And this is why our reports, when it comes especially to the hidden mean, is very important because knowing where you are in the cycle is your golden ticket. And what do I mean by that? So before I continue, let me change this into the monthly. These red boxes are there for this specific reason, and that is the pre-distribution phases, which I've already mathematically shown you how we get that. In 2017, which he also correlates to where we are now, which is true because we are in a pre-distribution phase right now, is correlated to this box area and this box area in Bitcoin dominance. Now, you have that here as well, because this is a micro pre-distribution phase for 2021. And you can see that it was within this range here as well for the total and for the Bitcoin dominance here. And this is where we currently stand. Okay. Just from this alone with our math, we already know the market's going to go higher and it's not done. But if you do not want to take that into account and say, what if our math is wrong? What if it's not the same? What if our math is just off by something and it's really not calculating? What if we just are literally at the top? Okay, let me just go into answering saying, let's go with that basis. If that were to be true, then just by looking at the Bitcoin dominance, you will see that every time Bitcoin tops in its but in its peak, you can look down at the Bitcoin dominance and you can see that Bitcoin dominance has to, at minimum, enter this 50 to 42% to even entertain the thought of the market reaching its top. As you can see in 2017, which he is keen to comparing to, Bitcoin dominance would have to be here. Fast forward to 2021, you can see Bitcoin dominance was down here. So this in itself is showing you we're not done. We don't even have to include the math that we've already made. Just by looking at the simple chart, just by looking left, you will see we're not done because Bitcoin dominance is not within this range, meaning that Bitcoin has and will go up, right? It's going to break up the structure, which is why I highlighted the 135 because that's the expansion top. The 135,000, we have to break that, and then we will continue up. Now, the most important part for alts in this section is this. For us to have the euphoric all season, we have to break this level here between this range of 0.47 and 0.53. So before we get there, in order for us to reverse, we will see alts, total three, bottoming during that time that Bitcoin's breaking its all-time high. So the moment we see a candle at 135 is the moment you're going to be seeing alt having its last red candle, because then that's when the reversal comes. When we see up in like in short term, when we see that candle breaking up here, you're going to see a red candle here in total, and you most likely will see a big green candle up here. So short term, he's right in the sense that Bitcoin dominance is going to go up, but he's misleading people in believing that it's just going to go up and it's not coming back down into this range and we're not seeing an alt season. Because in order for that to happen, that's why I don't understand why people, when they look at, they only see things so isolated. And I don't understand why that is. If you're going to be pointing out the fact that we're going to go up, you also have to point out the fact, especially if you're keen to the 4 year cycle, you have to point the fact that it's going to be coming down not only because of this simple pattern, but because also the 50's already been broken. So, all to say that it depends when we break this level. So, let's say we break this level this month, hypothetically speaking. That would mean that we would see alt season in November. If we break this level in November, then we would see alt season in December. And I say this because obviously, when this is breaking, we are bottoming within the total. And it's not until the following candle where it's a confirmation of the top, as you can see here, confirmation of the top here above this box, confirmation of the box, this candle above this box, is when you start seeing the big green candles for alts to happen. And that goes obviously for the down. Like I said, there's a bloody knife coming in Bitcoin dominance. And this pretty much proves it. And we're definitely heading into this range, which means when we head into this range, also Bitcoin is when this cycle is also peaking. All to say that we are definitely going to be breaking above and we're going to go into a new all-time high just from the simple data. Second thing is we will be seeing an alt season because of this data. And third thing is the fact that we can't expect us to peak or finish this cycle until we see Bitcoin dominance at minimum within the 49 percentile, 49.85. So I would round it up to 50%. So that's what I have for you guys within my own analysis and responding to the whole Ben Cohen, because I know he's literally saying closely to the opposite in the sense of it's a questionable to have an alt season, and it's even questionable whether or not Bitcoin's going to go higher. And I'm telling you, it's the opposite from this analysis that I know he's also looking at, which is baffling to me. Um, the other thing is I'm going to cover is let me see how to minimize this really quick. One second. I don't know how to get out of this. Can you guys see this here? The altcoin vector?
No.
No? Okay, so um, let me stop sharing and then share again. Let's see if that works. I think I did stop sharing, did I not?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, so then let me go back into this. Okay, so going into the altcoin vector report, we will see that pretty much in this report, what they're highlighting is Ethereum looking a lot stronger than Bitcoin and showing more strength than Bitcoin in the sense of structure wise, not necessarily in price movement, right? The second thing is, this is most important, is that within their on-chain data, they're seeing that the hot opportunities for right now is between large caps and mid caps. I'm gonna summarize this stuff just because after this call, we're gonna post the entire report that I'm showing in front of you so you guys could take your own time and read it through. The only thing that I really want to cover here is pretty much showing that within this framework, the framework, it's telling you that the altcoins in itself are showing some strength and they're going towards the up beta. Um, and they're slowly exiting the oversold conditions that obviously we've been in. The negative impulse is also fading, which is a good thing for us. But most importantly, Ethereum is showing a lot more strength because in the last report or so, they weren't sure whether or not Ethereum or Solana was going to take the lead. And from this data from this week, it's showing that Ethereum is definitely going to be taking the lead based on having some liquidity being poured in, and it's also looking stronger than Solana in comparison. As you can see, it says that here. Um, it says Solana's liquidity has yet to show signs of recovery after the deleveraging event. So, all to say that as well of the fact that Bitcoin, we are headed to breaking a new all-time high. Um, Ethereum is in a place where it should be following through. And not only is it going to be breaking the 5,000, but it's definitely going to be sustaining above of it. So I just wanted to make sure I bring this into your guys' awareness to show you that not only is it my analysis that are pretty much showing that altcoins, better yet, Bitcoin dominance as well. They go into Bitcoin dominance and describing how the for instance, right here it says Bitcoin dominance continues to hover near the 59 and 60%. They still they haven't really said what they see in the sense of whether it's bearish or if it's going to go higher in the short term. But I can tell you from the analysis I just pointed out that it is expected for us to see Bitcoin dominance go higher while Bitcoin's breaking that previous all-time high. But like I also said, it's not until we break that all-time high and have that finishing candle above 135 that we will see alts going into starting its alt season. And I just wanted to bring this report up just so you guys could pretty much see that the fact that Ethereum is in a structural position for it to take alt with it. And so I'll leave this to you guys so you guys can read on your own. I know people like reading this report because of its top coins that they identify as like the hot opportunities or the ones that stand out within their data, their framework. And so the opportunities that they have in hand is pretty much Zcash, Verge, COTI. The coins with the impulse are obviously Zcash and Pax Gold. But that was pretty much about it. So this report really was just all about highlighting Ethereum and its strength. So you guys can read that on your own. And that's pretty much what I have on my end. I know Ricky, I can pass that over to Ricky. I'm sure he has things on the smart money side for you guys. But from what I covered, does anyone have any question
Hi,
now?
T.
Oh, yes.
Hi, T. Sorry. Thank you so much, by the way, for the presentation. I just had a question, and like I don't think it would be a question for now, but just to confirm, because I think I brought it up in the Discord a while back, but I think you were sick. I just wanted to confirm near, I guess, after BTC breaks the all-time high, and I guess when we've officially entered alt season. Will we be maybe talking about like possible rotations if we wanted to do that into like medium caps or slow caps?
The thing is with okay, so the rotation part is going to be so not it's not going to be challenging, it's more risk if anything. Just because we have such a short time frame. It was more possible in the fact back in 2021 because the entire time it was on an uptrend, you had alts running. As you can see here in this cycle in alone, just based on where we are right now within the cycle, we're close to finishing this cycle. So alts have about 3 to 4 months to run from where we are right now. And if you were to rotate your coins that you've been holding, let's say you get four and you go into four until we top, you're still going to be coming out relatively with the same type of same type of X's, but obviously with slightly more capital. But then you have to also, I don't know how it is in Toronto, but if I'm holding, let's say, a coin for longer than 1 year and I sell, right? I'm selling out of 4X. And because I held it for longer than a year, I'm paying 15%. But because I want to do a rotation, now that capital, let's say I made, hypothetically speaking, 60,000. I'm moving over to another 4X, right? That 60,000 can give me another 4X. I don't know, 6 times 4 is 24, I believe. 240,000, right? That 240,000, now you're having to pay, aside from the 60,000, 40% of tax. So at this point, from where we are, you're better off just holding that 15% all the way up to that 8X and just selling there. Now, if you're, obviously it's different if you have alts that you've held less than a year, then okay, maybe, but you're still risking in the sense of trying to time the market. Because you don't really, I mean, this is why we're going to have an altcoin vector because that's literally what they do. They highlight what's going to be going into a breakout. But with that comes such great risk. And I honestly rather have everyone sell at the top and then using all that capital to buy back lower because your rotation when we buy back lower is going to be 10 times folds than to where doing it intermediate right now within those 3 to 4 months. It's too much of a huge risk.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you.
It's so, I know I made a long response just to get to that, but
No, it's okay. It's okay. You explained it well. Thank you. Thank you.
to respond to Chip, I think anyone holding any holdings on an exchange, you hold big risk. I would personally recommend either having it in your cold storage up until you start seeing that Bitcoin's had a finishing candle above the 135 to start moving your assets into an exchange, or I'm not sure what your portfolio size is, but another option is having it with your broker and having them do all that for you. That way you won't be stressed out about it. But yes, having your assets in exchange is very risky. Okay, so anyone have any questions regarding the analysis I pointed out? If not, I'm going to just shift it over to Bike so he could finish.
Okay. Guess that's it. You good?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for asking. Okay. Yeah, thank you, T, for doing that. It's always, well, I mean, you've already got the word in your name, so I can't even say insightful anymore. It was great. I'll just say that. I know they all appreciated it. Um, and I know that I sound sarcastic when I say it like that because I'm kind of feeling sick right now anyway. So, just to understand, I'm not saying it sarcastically. I really mean that. All right, let me switch over here. Have got some things that are going to excite y'all. I mean, I really feel like the bottom's in personally, but just let me show you the proof, and then you can decide for yourself. Let me make sure I got the right screen here. Okay, yeah, I think that's the right one, and I'll make sure I have chat open here just in case. All right. So this chart that we're looking at, and you'll have to excuse me if I have to clear my throat. I may try to mute myself if I have to or cough, but things kind of took turn for the worse last night, and I'm getting sick, I think. So this is the total three chart. You can see total three ES BTC. So what this chart represents is the ratio total market cap, excluding Bitcoin, ETH, and stable coins, but it's also comparing itself to Bitcoin. So the same way that you would do Ethereum versus Bitcoin, we're comparing all altcoins and their strength versus Bitcoin currently. And you can see, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't know if this is the actual breakout or not from this structure. It could be that maybe the top's up here somewhere and I'm just seeing like a mid-range rejection. But so far, anyway, we're seeing that this is a pretty clean break. It even retested the top of this trend line. So I'm not saying this thing's just going to take off all of a sudden, but I will show you how, if you're watching our volume channel, the new volume channel, you'll notice that a lot of tokens like Bless, and I'll actually bring Bless up here really quickly just to show you. And I don't think I have hang on one second. I should have had this one ready for you. So with Bless, it did like a 5X, I think, from basically where that market cap is we're looking at currently. One second. Okay. Um, so if we put this in like an hourly chart, and I'm going to use the 10th of October as a reference a lot here because I consider this like a soft reset where it allows the algo to kind of reset all the charts to start at a particular point. And some will move faster than the others, and Bless is one of them. But you can see here that if we do like a trend line here and we get a breakout and it retests that breakout, and of course we had this down here as well. Yeah, something like that. So, it kind of found a bottom here back at this bottom, and then it took off. So this is exactly what alts are going to do. But again, some will be slow and some will be quick to do it like this. And if you go back and look at the volume, the volume channel that we have now, it will show you the tokens that have already moved. Like I'll take SQD for an example. I just posted a video about that today. I believe that's one that already made like this first initial move and came back down, and now it's ready to make another move. So you're going to see some that have really popped off and some that haven't. But when you see a lot of volatility to the upside like this, even the small one, even just the first 30% move, take note of that token, because once it does its little correction, it's going to make a big move. So this one made its big move. It's already found support and it's starting to work up to the next one. And what'll happen here is, slowly over time, it's going to do like this, and then it's going to make another higher high in this case. And that's what we're going to see over and over as this all market continues to, mature. So basically, it's the new normal. They with Parkinson's patients or any dementia patients, if they were to fall or have some kind of event that would knock them down a peg, basically that becomes their new normal, and that's what's been happening with price action. It comes down, that's the new normal. It tries to break out, it can't. Eventually, it finds support. And so this is more like a young person, right? Where they're able to work out, they're able to lift weights. So now their new normal is starting to climb. And that's just an analogy to show you that, things are going to stair step up like that. But just getting back to this chart, if we zoom out, and I always recommend zooming out first. I know I started zoomed in, but we always want to zoom out first and go to the very highest time frame that we can. And if we look at this one and just take it in, what you're going to notice is as price came down, there were areas of like a dead cat bounce. If you like cats, I'm sorry about that reference, but it just kind of fits best with crypto. So, sorry, I'm getting the image of a cat falling out of a tree and bouncing off the ground now. So this, it kind of does like a bear flag, and then it falls through that bear flag, falls through that. And Tatiana's actually talked about it before, how she likes to see at least 3, maybe 4 breaks of structure, lower highs or lower lows. And so you had a lower low here, lower low, and then this is either your third or fourth one. I don't know. It's depends on what chart you're looking at. On the weekly, it'd probably be the fourth one. So here we got 1, it lost support here. 2, I guess you could call that one maybe 3 and 4. But I mean, we've come down enough, right? You're sitting there and you're thinking, man, enough's enough. How much do I have to endure? And so just because this wick showed up here doesn't mean we have to come back down and touch this wick. In fact, if you look at the weekly, here is how I drew these trend lines. If you look here, I don't really have to take this one, but I can take it from here to here, and that's a double bottom. Not technically because it's not horizontal, but in terms of a triangle, it is a double bottom. And then you had this, kind of another bear flag in a way, and then it fell down. So typically when something like this happens and it's near the bottom, sometimes all you have to do is come back 50%, and that's about what we've done. Did somebody have something, or heard somebody talking maybe? Okay. So yeah, I mean, what I'm looking at and what we should always be considering, just in your life in general, and Mike Maloney, I don't know if you've heard me talk about him before, but his whole thing is, and Warren Buffett, any of them, they want to buy things when they're cheap, right? And then they want to sell them when they're expensive, or buy things when they're at a discount, sell at a premium. So that's what we're trying to do here, is we're kind of looking for a bullish divergence to give us some kind of indication that this could be the bottom. Of course, remember, weekly, monthly charts, they lag a lot. So we do have to go down to a lower time frame to find when it first starts to turn up. And if we look at something like the MACD, sometimes that's a good one to look at. I mean, you can see a trend here. There's a clear trend up while price is coming down. I mean, that's a bullish divergence, right? It's pretty obvious. But if we go down like a daily, we're starting to get a curl up here, and you can see that this histogram here is also, even though it had this big wick down right here, which coincided with that one, the overall trend of this is to trend up, and you're starting to get your first green candle here. So yes, the 2 lines below the midline of the MACD, that is bearish. We'd rather see the 2 lines above because that's, super bullish. But remember, this is a lagging chart. So the fact that we're getting a cross up now is very good. I think it is positive for the market in general. But here's the thing that I want you to remember going forward, and why this could still take some time to play out. And let me find, here we go, right here. So I've showed this multiple times. I'm sure you're used to seeing it by now. Basically what happens is you get this accumulation phase, and then you have an October 10th type flush out, and then you have some sideways price action, some ranging price action. So let's zoom in here, and let me just show you what I see personally, and maybe this will make some sense to you. If I can get back to it, here we go. Okay. So we looked at a couple of tokens that were already doing this, right? Where they're just kind of ranging sideways. There's some resistance there and a support level. So I've been playing these ranges because I feel like the bigger breakout's coming. Excuse me, let me clear my throat. So I feel like the breakout's coming, and you can see right here how not only does the top of the range present a much higher, much more price appreciation, but it also acts as the support for the next impulse. So you get this first impulse support, didn't mean to do that. And then you get a much bigger move, and see how it just creates more and more volatility to the upside. And you get more and more of this, Okay. You get more and more of this, really strong upward price action, and then a sharp pullback. And that flushes even more people out as price goes up. But please don't let this scare you out of the market when something like this happens, because if you get a good entry down here and you sell somewhere in here, you're going to be like, well, where do I get in at? Because there's no clear support at that point. You're just trending up. So just remember the trend. I don't really like saying the trend is your friend. I think it's a stupid saying, but stick to the trend as long as it's moving up for you. And you can use many different indicators for that. And we're going to be watching this for you. You don't have to worry about that. But if you do want to follow the chart, then definitely make sure that you load up this. It's called the Phoenix. And then you put the 21 and 55 on there. If you want it to have like green and red and all that, when it's bullish and bearish, just change it to dynamic. Or if you want it solid, like it normally is, just change it to solid. But make sure on exponential. And I mean, this is the 30-minute chart, but you can use it on the daily, the 3-hour, it doesn't matter what it is. As long as the price is crossed up and these are green, you just stay in. I mean, there's just really no reason to even mess around. Now, if you want to be very aggressive and try to take profits early, then you would wait till a couple of candles close below this 21. But if you want to be safe, then you would wait till the 21 cross below the 55 and then you take your profits there. So you're not going to get the exact top. It's just not going to happen. But this is best practice to use when you are waiting for that profit taking opportunity. And then the same thing to the downside. There's no reason for you to be taking it long until this thing crosses up, no matter what chart you're looking at. And just remember, the lower chart you're playing, the more it's going to chop around on you, and the higher the time frame, the more it's going to lag. So you have to just decide what that perfect balance is as far as what time frame you want to watch. But we're going to keep an eye on stuff like this for you. I know Tatiana has certain Bitcoin price areas that she's watching for. And she's going to be watching the moving averages, by the way. And just so you know, that's one way that she determines this stuff. But, once it hits these price targets, she's going to be saying, okay, well, what does the moving average look like right now? Is it telling us that we may be hitting a top? And if so, then maybe it's time to take some alt profits. And, those are the kind of things that she's going to be looking at. So let's see, what else do I want to show you? I am going to show you a couple quick charts here on specific tokens. And some of these are specific to what Swissblock was showing as well in the Altcoin Vector. But let me make sure I've showed you everything else because I've kind of jumped around here. Okay, SQD. Oh, well, SQD, by the way, I do believe this one is going to give you an opportunity for an entry here in the next couple of days. You could watch like the 30-minute or whatever, but I believe this is the bottom. I mean, to be honest, I'm guessing, but I'm also using charting to help me figure this out. And, this is a support area right here. So I think it probably will hold somewhere here. I can't say that's the exact bottom, but if you want to be very safe with it, I would say use something like the hourly chart. And then when this thing turns up, or if you want to use like a trend line like this. Yeah, something like that. Once it gets above the trend line, and you could even wait for a retest of the trend line, then I think it's ready to go. And I think the targets are much higher for this one. I don't think it's just coming up to here, although it could temporarily reject. There is a video that I did on this one where I went into detail just this morning. And I am in a position in this token right now, by the way. But it is kind of risky because it's not confirmed yet if this is the bottom. So it's right here, SQD bottom near, and that was a question, 200% potential. I think it could do even more, but we'll see. All right, so let me show you a couple of these tokens and my thought process on this. If there's any questions while I'm doing this, feel free to interrupt me. Let's see, I'm just looking at chat here. Leo Ashley said orderly is another good example. Yeah, I'll take a look at that one. Yeah, Rab's right. Accumulation, manipulation, distribution. We've had our manipulation situation here already, haven't we, with October 10th? So I think we're going to see much higher targets. Okay, so SNX is a really good example of a token that this is on the altcoin vector, by the way. I just want to make mention of that. But this one here, I just want to show that this is actually in the charts every single time before the dip. And was this the 10th? Oh, sorry. I misspoke. So the 10th actually happened before this top happened. So it would have been hard to see this in the chart because that wick was really big. it looked like this thing was coming up to the top, but I think it was probably overheated, and that might be why that happened. But you can clearly see, I mean, it touched this top 1, 2, 3 times. And I think with SNX, you're going to find some kind of support right here, just like with SQD. And I didn't mean to do that. I'm trying to do a horizontal line here. Yeah. So somewhere in here, and I'm not going to get really technical with it, but I would say because of this being support previously and it losing it, and now it's trying to retest that, you're going to find support for SNX here somewhere. And then once that happens, you're going to retest this and you're going to take off higher. I mean, all the alts are going to do this eventually, but this kind of gives you an idea of what to expect for SNX. COTI, I went ahead and drew this triangle. You got all of these tops are connecting right here, and now you're just waiting on a breakout. And I think, I know y'all, especially Tatiana, she laughs at me because I use MUBI a lot, but I just want to make a point here that with MUBI, it's such a clear structure is the reason I like to reference it often. You got a clear bottom, even though it's kind of angled to the upside, and then you got a clear top, even though it's angled to the downside. And here it is again, kind of in a different format where it's more of a right triangle or, a pennant, whatever you want to call it, bull flag. But the basic premise of this is once you get above the top line there and you close a candle above it, and I mean, it'd be great if it could retest the top there, and it kind of did. In this case, you see that wick coming down right there. So if you wait for 2 candles, I think you're safe. This is a 3-hour chart. And if we go back to COTI, what are we at? 3-hour? Yeah. So if you see something like this, where you get 1 candle closed completely above, I'm not talking about the top of it closes above it. I'm talking about the full candle is above the line. And then maybe you come back and almost touch it. That's a really good place to take a position because you're getting all this sideways action here. And then it breaks above that and it retests it and it's ready to go. If you really want to be safe, then go up to like I don't know. Well, I'm on a 3-hour chart. I really wouldn't go much higher than that if you don't want to get into a lagging chart like the daily. But you can, again, use the RD or the Phoenix and just wait on this cross up. The reason why moving averages are so nice is because you don't have to draw these lines. The moving average lines are actually your resistance or actually your support. So just wait for a cross up. And, once a candle gets above the cross, then just go ahead and enter. It may cross further up here though. So COTI looking good. We talked about XRP, and I'm just going to bring this up really quick because XRP made a move shortly after we were talking about it. Let me go to the 3-hour for it as well. And you're going to see this pattern repeat over and over. I know it is dangerous to follow fractals, and we should all be aware of that. However, there are times when they play out really well. So you've got, let me make sure I've got this right. I think this was a deviation right there. Let me just change this a little bit. I'm just trying to connect as many of the wicks and bodies as I can. I mean, this is pretty close. So you did get a clear break above and you retested and, it gave you a couple candles to get in. So I think XRP is probably at least coming up to here, but understand that this is a range that it's in. Just like we were talking about earlier, this is a range that it's still trying to work its way out of. And, it may come up and do a deviation, come back down into it, and eventually it's going to make a much bigger move. But this is what we need to see. We need that 30% move first, come back down, retest, and then it's ready for much higher. There's a lot of resistance up here. But, I mean, this is very promising. I actually told somebody the other day, I said, if I start to see tokens like XRP, XLM, different types of tokens, if I see them doing 30% moves or 10% moves, then that means things are getting a little bit more volatile. And that's good overall for the alt market, even though everybody on CT is pretty much bearish. We got to look at what the charts are showing us, right? So that's COTI. And here is Dash. This is another one that has actually already broken out. Let me find October 10th here. Where's it here? Yeah. So this one acted a little bit differently. Well, not really. It was just more condensed here. So this is the same thing. It was a triangle, even though I'd probably have to go down to like a really low time frame to show you this. Yeah, there we go. So, triangle breakout, you don't even have to draw the bottom line if you don't want to. The top line's all that matters. So we need that breakout. That's really all we're looking for. And then that gives us confirmation that this structure is now validated as as having more upside because it broke to the upside of the trend line there. If it would have broke to the downside, then that would have been bad, obviously. But now you're getting these, it's coming back down and testing this. What did it do? Yeah, I think this was probably going to find another bottom soon. When did this top? So this was the 12th of October. This was about, what, 2 weeks ago? Yeah, so this thing's been doing a really good job of consolidating. And I think your bottom is, somewhere in here. I don't know exactly where, because it's coming back to retest this area that it broke out of. And you can even use fibs on stuff like this. I mean, from this breakout point, it's already hit the 8.8 fib, 7.86 fib. I mean, this is more than enough. So if you wanted to take a spot position on this, I think it would be fine. Your invalidation would be under, if it closed like a 3-hour candle below $39 or something like that. Either that's invalidation or it's just a quick dip under. Sometimes there's a final flush before a move up. But we can take a look at that if it does happen. Just let me know, and I'll take a look at it for you. Okay, let me see. Okay. So Rab's getting drunk. I was just checking in on that. It's like the little side game we got going on. So Neo and MUBI, these look really similar, right? I already had the MUBI chart up. Of course, this one had a couple really big fake outs. You can see how we were just talking about it, right? How sometimes they'll fake out really hard to the downside and then push right back up, fake out, back up. And so, this is your double bottom on an angled line. Here's some topping action here, but you're just waiting on that breakout, right? That's all it is. I don't know if I have those exactly where I want them. It's something like that anyway, though. So yeah, I think this one looks really good too. In fact, I'm pretty sure I'm in a play in this one already. Maybe I was looking at it on the hourly or something. I don't know. But what I was looking at is this right here. You always see this flush out before a bigger move. So flush out, bigger move, flush out, and a bigger move is coming. And I think that it'll come up to, I don't know, 587 or so, something like that. So, I can't say that for certain. A lot of them do reject after it just sweeps this high right here. It's kind of like their first move, and then they come back down to retest this, and then they make a bigger move. But I've seen some that just take off and they blow right through this resistance. So, I can't say for certain that it's going to happen just like that. I'm just being conservative. I'm doing like really quick scalps, that sort of thing. Dog, same thing. This is one of the ones that I wanted to mention that, just because the 10th of October thing happened, the flush, doesn't mean it wasn't already in the chart. Like if you eliminated this, let me show you. I'm going to bring that to the front. Okay. If you eliminated that wick, I mean, you tell me, doesn't that still look right? It does to me. I mean, you had all of this rejection right here. You had a deviation above the range, and now it's finding a bottom, and you're going to break out right there, I believe. I mean, it could come down one more time and tighten up, but this is what you want to see. You want to see it get really tight. You want to see it bouncing at a support level, which it's doing here. Could it dip just a little bit more? Sure. But I think we're close. I think it's really close. What else do I want to show you? I did have a request for IXS. If any of you have a request, by the way, I'll be happy to look at it. I had a request for IXS through DMs. And IXS, it could be similar to what SNX is doing. I'm not positive, though. I was telling this person before, I think ISX was somewhere down here, and I was telling them, this trend line could play out where it rejects again here. So just, if you like to leverage trade, or if you just want to make quick gains and get out until this market really takes off, then you can play these ranges until you get a full breakout. I mean, treat every single chart that you're looking at as a independent chart, whether it's bullish, whether it's bearish. The overall trend here is down, sure, but it did pump here first. So, short term, this is bearish. but long term it looks bullish, right? Because you broke out of this long extended downtrend here. So doesn't that look the same to you? So here you got a downtrend breakout, downtrend, eventually it's going to break out. I mean, these things are just stair stepping up. They have to do it slowly. So always draw your lines and kind of zoom out and take it all in first before you start drilling down to lower time frames. But as far as IXS goes, for the person that was asking, what was this, 20th of October? I don't even know if this one, did it experience a big dip on the 10th? Not really. Yeah, so some weren't affected that much. Yeah, so on the smaller time frames, just draw you a trend line. I mean, this is either a deviation, one quick deviation, and then back down for another check of support down here somewhere. I really feel like it probably needs to come down one more time. Yeah, I mean, it really feels like it should come down one more time. So I don't think it's ready yet, but really what you're waiting for is that break above whatever that is, about 20 cents or something. And then SNSY, I know a lot of you are interested in this one. We can do the same thing here. I mean, that's a breakout and retest to me on a longer time frame, on a 3-hour. Here's your 10th of October. Yeah, this one's been like straight down since the 10th of October. It just came up temporarily. Yeah, came back on here. Okay, yeah, so I think this one's going up. I really do. You got an inverted head and shoulders here. There's your right shoulder. Target, I'm not sure though. Like, I'm not really sure where, maybe up to here where this order block is. So 0016. That would be what? Yeah, 30% move. So that's what you want to be looking for, is like a 10 to 30% move. If it's a higher cap token, maybe you just get a 10% move out of it. And then if it's a mid cap or something, maybe 30. Some of the low caps, some of the small caps are going to do like, they could do 100% in a day. We've already seen it in that volume channel. So that's what you want to be looking for. And I'm not telling you to rotate. We don't want you to be thinking about rotations right now. I'm really laying out the bullish thesis here and why I'm excited about it. And it's not intended to get you hyped up. It's giving you what to watch for going forward to validate that this is actually happening. But if you're into spot trades, then you just want to be buying these and holding them. Of course, our spreadsheet plays are the main plays, but if there's any of these that aren't spreadsheet plays, if you want to jump into them, I think there are a lot of these that look promising. Check my XPin alert. Actually, that's funny because I am in a trade on that one. But anyway, I think that was sorry, now I'm distracted. I think that was did I look at Dash? Yeah, we looked at Dash. Okay. I didn't want to get rid of that chart. Yeah, XPin, I think I was waiting for it to go down further. I shorted it at the top of the range there, somewhere here. I think it's coming down further because it already did this little impulsive move down. Okay, is there anything else I want to show you? I think that's about it, really. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know I talk fast. I know that I go through this stuff quickly. It's kind of second nature, even though I get things wrong all the time still. But charting is second nature after you do it enough. I just want to show you how to process it, or the way that I process it anyway, and that's logical to me, to where, hopefully it might help you in the future, because I think everybody needs to learn how to do this, because Tatiana may not be here forever. She may decide to move off to Bali or something with Zoe. Okay, what else do we have here? Yeah, Tatiana said usually a deviation is a warning sign. Good point. Let's see. Bean said, considering that some altcoins we have are still at great discounts, would you say it would be good to stop accumulating as long as we're above our average prices, or you think it's good to still add as we're below December highs? Yeah, it's not really a confusing question. I think I understand what you're saying, and it's a good point. Let's look at a specific example just to make sure that I do have what you're saying correct. So let's see. Great discounts. Yeah. So here's what I do. If I'm in a leverage trade, and especially if I was in a spot trade, if I felt like the bottom was in, if it was back at support levels, I would add a portion of the total amount that I want to purchase. And understand that this is very risky. I'm okay with taking the risk here, even though I'm still under the trend line. But especially if you get a breakout of the trend line, and this is going to happen sometimes, by the way, where it gets manipulated down below the support level, the previous local support. But once this finishes taking place here, as long as it's not a deviation like Tatiana was talking about, then you're going to start seeing that price go back up. So this would be a good place to take some to take more of a position there. But you just have to decide how much total you want to, like, say, for example, if XLM was my most important token to me, and I'm not saying that it is, but it is one of my top 5. If that was the case, then I would want to keep adding to it if I had disposable income. We don't ever want to spend more than we can afford to lose, as far as we always want to have an emergency fund for our personal life. We don't want to spend everything that we have or take out loans or anything like that. It can get you into trouble. Not only that, you'll be stressed all the time if you do things like that. So don't worry if you don't have as much money as somebody else to put into the market, because like Tatiana said, once we take our profits from this this first move, then we're going to roll them back in once Bitcoin does this next big drop, whatever that may be, wherever it ends up. So you're going to get to compound that money. And once that happens, then you'll have a lot more, of course. We just got to do this right. We have to stick to the plan, and we can't get outside of ourselves. And that's the easy thing to do. We have to stay patient. We have to stay grounded and not be thinking about all the money we're going to make, even though it's fun. But those are the things that unbalance us, right? When we start thinking about how much we're going to make, and then it doesn't happen right away, and then we get all depressed about it. So, we just stay even keeled, and we don't let it bother us. We just, live our life and wait till it happens. Okay. Let me
Can I
just see.
chime in here really quick?
Yeah, for sure.
To answer Bean's question, I would highly recommend, given that I just pointed out that we are most likely going to see Bitcoin dominance and against alts dipping again, I would wait for us to break the 135 to pour in more money into the alts you're already considering, just because it's showing that we should bleed one more time until we have that confirmation candle. So I would say if you're at a price where it's below your average and you can see that it's at a good price, then I would say, of course, dollar cost average in. But if you're feeling like you want to see it to go lower, the possibility is there, given that that's already showing we have that possibility to go dipping one more time when we break out in Bitcoin. So just wanted to say that.
Yeah, perfect. I'm glad you said it. Yeah, what she's saying has a lot of validity to it, because what if we are still in this range, right? And we get a move like this out of XRP, or whatever it may be, it does a 10 to 30% move. I think it'll probably be 10% at the most. But what if we're just bouncing off of this bottom right here, and then we move up to here, and then you try to add more, and then it falls back down? Well, you won't be happy with that, right? So that's why I'm saying, yes, things are looking better. At least we're in the range right now. We're done with the major drop, I believe, but things are still going to bounce for a while until they, finally break out of the top of this range. So if you wanted to, draw that on your token, like here with COTI, for example, what would that look like? Well, we don't have the range here just yet, right? But what we can do is we can draw some conservative lines. Maybe this was a deviation above the mean right there, and in the same way, maybe this was as well. I don't know what the bottom's going to be there, but what if COTI just does like this, sweeps the high, and then comes right back down? A lot of them are doing that right now. So, in my opinion, what you should be doing is, well, this is if you're leverage trading, you should be selling the top of this range and then buying back at the low. So just be careful with that. Just because you see something get volatile all of a sudden to the upside doesn't mean it's just going to take off. I really feel like we're still in a range right now. Yeah, you're welcome. It's a good question, Bean. That's a really good one to bring up.
I want to actually, going back to Pablo's question, I want to go back and show what I was trying to mean by answering his question. And if I can share my screen really quick so I could.
Yeah, how do I do this? Unshare. I forget how to unshare. Oh, here it is.
Okay, so like I've mentioned in the last report, we have two possibilities. Obviously, this possibility just going into this area here, and the reason why I have it going here is because of the divergence that we have in the weekly. Um, it goes into this range, but that's besides the point of what I was going to say. So we have these two options. This option of just going to the slow is obviously more in favor um, for our bear market bottom. However, because of the overlapping cycles, like I've said many times, we have this possibility of going all the way down here. Now, the reason why I do believe there is a strong possibility of us going that low, even though it might sound so crazy to some, is because this is the first cycle ever, and I'm saying like the entire history of Bitcoin, that um, Bitcoin has disrespected the 21 EMA. It disrespected the 50 and the 21 going into this section here, and the 21 here, and we might see it again here. So this alone is pointing to me that these are warning signs that we should see us remeeting these price levels. I wouldn't be surprised if we go to this area here and it's just a huge long wick or just one huge candle to where we stay on this level. But the fact that we have these disrespects of these bands in this area already points to me that the possibility is there, not including the overlapping cycles. But going back to that question of doing altcoin rotations, the fact that we have such a short time, it's already, like I said, risky. The real money is going to happen when we sell here at the top, and then we start buying back a percentage here and even having orders down here around this area. Because mind you, like I already presented, our bear market is going to be a lot shorter than we are usually have. So we're talking anywhere between 6 to 9 months that we have time to correct. So by 2027, we should be back into a bull market. So in reality, the rotation is happening, but on a bigger scale and less of a risk as well. So just wanted to give you guys a visual so you guys could really understand why I recommend waiting.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I'm really thankful that you're with us, because seeing that out in front of us, it's hard to do, from the macro perspective. His question was more specifically about accumulating the same token as long as we're above our price. What
No,
was
I'm
it?
referring, yeah, yeah, that's Bean's question. I was
Oh,
referring to
you were talking about
Pablo's
somebody else.
question.
Yeah, my bad, my bad. I'm sick. I'm sick, everybody.
Any else?
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions? Or do you have more to share, Rick?
No,
I'm sorry if
no,
I
we're
cut you off.
good. Yeah, yeah, no, we're good. I was just reading what Rab was saying there. That's his dream, to buy Bitcoin below 10K.
Yeah, I think the fact that in order for us to actually hit those lows, I do think it's going to happen very fast. It's not going to be something um, where we're going to be able to have time to really go and sell a truck like Bean says and then come back and buy it. I think you're gonna have to sell a truck maybe when we peak and then have that capital. So,
Yeah, who knows what the exchanges look like during something like that too, if they even are open.
oh, I wouldn't be surprised if they go down again. I mean, they're so famous to go down when we're at the top of a market and at a bottom of a market.
Hmm.
So it's important to have those buy and sell orders ahead of time if you don't already. But okay. Well, I kind of have to go if we have anything else, anyone has a question, I'm happy to answer right now. But if not, I gotta get the boot.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you all for joining. Hope
Yeah,
you all
thank
have
you
a good
everyone
weekend.
for joining us on your Saturday. I greatly appreciate it.
Okay. Well, if
All
anybody
right.
showed up late, we'll have the recording out fairly soon. We'll get it processed and put up on the channel.
Okay. All right.
All
Bye
right.
everyone. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.